Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday edition of Proline Daily. I'm John Creighton in Las Vegas, joined by Jim Feist, the world champion handicapper. We're going to talk about some baseball and some NBA line movement to tell you about. First, Jim, 2-0 sweep with the side and the total with the Spurs and the over on Sunday. And then Game 7, you had the Celtics. That's part of a recent 12-4 NBA run and a bigger run of 115 and 67 in the NBA. Plus, yesterday, you had an early release, a total release in baseball. That was Tampa Bay Cleveland over. Easy winner at 7-4.
Yeah, it's been sweet. When you talk about totals, you got to look at a lot of different things, of course. But just I'm not really trying to educate anybody on how to handicap. It's kind of we all have our own particular bends. But when I look at the pitchers, I'll look at the tendencies of what the lines have been and what the results have been. When I look at Cobb, he's just been giving up a lot of runs and not been consistent, not going deep enough, and then you have to go down to the bullpen for the Tampa Rays. So when you look at the results of what he's been doing, the 5 out of the last 7 games have gone over the total. Most of these games have been 9 runs or more. And then, of course, you look at the other side of it. You Tampa Bay, of course, when you look at their road games, they take a look here. I'm pulling up the computer. They've been a 60% over team on the road, which is also a nice. When you look at the pitcher and then you look at the team, you put it all together. There's a lot to look at in baseball because you don't change quarterbacks every week in football. You usually have the same guy, but when you consider the baseball pitcher is the quarterback of your team, and for that day he is, you have to consider all of that. So when you look at Tomlin, um, Cleveland has really been a little bit sour this year in their results. They have not lived like the Cubs. They've been slumping. They were both in the World Series. They had Cleveland, of course, ran out of pitchers. They were out of gas. They had several injuries. When you look at these teams and how are they doing right now, you can't just look at the pitcher. You have to look at the team, how they're hitting the ball, what's been going on recently, and it's a day game. Day games, the weather is a little bit nicer during the day generally in most cities. Uh, they've been hitting the ball, and Tampa and Cleveland went over the last 2 days, and they went over their last game at home against Minnesota. You see that trend, and teams are not going to be. When you look at averages, you get average results. So you kind of have to look at both these teams are able to. They've been scoring 4.6 runs per game for Tampa, 4.3 runs per game for Cleveland, but the tendency seems to be a little bit on the uptick. This game, pull this up here right now because we're talking about the flavor of this game. The game I saw, the first line on this game was 8.5, and I hit that pretty good for the over. Then it went to 9, and of course, then when I see that, then the next thing I see is a 10 and a 9.5 or a 10 on the game. So what you're seeing is my inclination was over, and I bet it at the 8.5 number, and I also bet it again at the 9 number. But then when it went to 10, that said to me that there's a lot of smart money out there pushing a game from an 8.5 opening to a 10 over 15, which means you're laying 115 to bet more on the 10. That pretty well indicated to me that the smart money was following not following me necessarily. I'm not saying that, but they were following the same thinking that I had in the game. And of course, it did work out, 7-4. Score in that game, so it did go over. And Tampa Bay, of course, Tampa actually won the game as a pretty good size underdog. Cleveland is not, even though the money, here's interesting where it went against the money. Game open 146, 140 in another book, and went up to 165. So the smart money, so the quote unquote smart money, did not do too well on the side, but they did do well in the total.
Yeah, that was a an easy over in a small park. Let's take a look at a Thursday game where it was going to be a big park here, Dodger Stadium. Miami Marlins, a long road trip to the West Coast to play the Dodgers. Both teams played yesterday, and Miami, not a bad road team at 8-11 when you figure they're going to be an underdog most of the time. However, there's not much going along well for Don Mattingly's club. He's heading to Dodger Stadium, the team that he used to manage, and they just come off a 3-game homestand against Houston where they got swept, outscored 22-4. In fact, they just finished up a 9-game homestand, and they're on a 3-11 run, so that does not bode well at all for this struggling Miami team that had a terrible offseason and had a bad start to the season. When you look at some of their overall numbers, boy, they're struggling everywhere. Number 23 in run score. They got shut out yesterday, 18th in on-base percentage, and the pitching has been worse at number 24 in team ERA. And they're going to go with an aging veteran here in Edison Volquez, winless on the year at 0-5, 24 walks and 34 pitching is a terrible ratio. So, Jim, some of the money on Vegas is gone. The early money has gone on Miami from -183 on the Dodgers down to -170. But it is difficult to make a case for why that money's moving.
Well, in that case, I don't think they're saying that they're expecting Miami to win the game. I think what they're saying is the price is a little too high. So a lot of guys will do that. They'll play value bets, and then they'll play run lines, and they'll play team run lines, and and they wait for if they feel like maybe that game will go down to 160 or 155, and they'll bet it back the other way. They play this. The sides clearly is this: when you look at these two pitchers, you're really not going to get much confidence from me about these two pitchers. These guys are pitching. They're just not doing well at the moment. And let's take a look. I'm going to pull up some of this stuff. It gets a little long-winded when I have to do it this way, but this fellow here. How do you say his name?
Ryu.
Okay.
Ryu, yep.
Yeah, he's lost all but one game as far as decisions, but decisions don't necessarily mean anything as far as the pitcher, how they're playing. That's a team decision mostly. He has pitched mostly unders until their last game, and he had his last game. He was at Colorado, which is a tough place to pitch anyway. In 4 innings, he gave up 8 hits. And 5 earned runs, along with 6 bases on balls and 4 strikeouts. That was definitely his worst outing. But before that, he's been pitching pretty well. 5 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 6-1, 6-4, 4-4. That was a little earlier in the season. And then so he's not done terribly, but the results haven't been good. As far as the team's results. He's lost all but 1 game, so he's 1-5 for the team, as far as that wins and losses. And the other side, you've got. I got to dig down here deep into this program here and pull up the results.
The struggling Miami team.
Oh, terribly struggling. Yes, it's really awful. And they got Volquez going. Now here's another guy. The team record with him is 1-6, ERA 4.41. The WHIP, walks, hits, innings pitched, 167, which is not good. So you're looking at this is not a pitcher's duel, but you're going to have to give a little bit of an edge to Rio being at home, and he has done better. His performances on the mound have been better, and Marlins are playing much worse than the Dodgers at this point. So you got to look at the Dodgers as the right side. The question is, in betting baseball, it's not just picking the winner, it's picking the price. You got to beat the number, because you're not laying 11-10 like you do in football. You got to be careful with your prices. You got to get the right price and the right side in order to make money. And that's where I dig deep into these games. It's a lot more work in baseball, but it's very lucrative, because if you spend the time, you do come up with a lot of great edges.
Yep, as Bob Barker would say, the price has to be right in Vegas on these games. And this Ryu is, even going back to last season, they don't score a lot of runs for him. A 1-8 run the Dodgers are when he starts. Dodgers, though, a dominant home team, 59-25. And maybe some of the money coming in against the Dodgers because they haven't been playing very good. They're home from this 7-game road trip, a division rivalry, too, against the Giants and the Rockies. Didn't go so well of 3-4 despite the win yesterday. However, some of the overall numbers for the Dodgers are exceptionally strong. They're 6th in baseball in runs scored. They're 4th in on-base percentage, so they get plenty of guys on base. Oh, and their pitching staff is number 1 in baseball. So this is a team that looks like it's going to be in it for the long haul. When you look at the head-to-head matchups between these teams, they're high-scoring games. It's 39, 16, and 5 over the total, including in very spacious Dodger Stadium, an incredible 24, 6, and 3 over the total. All right, we got a couple of NBA games coming up. Let's talk about this Saturday game. Rest for the weary, the road-weary San Antonio Spurs here. They're at home, but opening number here is about a 6.5-point home dog for Game 3. They're down 0-2 in the series, total around 206.5. And if you're looking for some positive notes with the Spurs, they're coming home. They get some extra days to try and rest. And the coach even ripped the team the last game for a bad effort. So I got to believe they're going to give a great effort against a great team that's going to be needed. And, Jim, your article this week that you have in the publications is on beware of NBA blowouts. Don't necessarily read too much into one game. So here's a classic example. What do you see for a Saturday's game?
Well, this is pretty easy to analyze. First of all, you can't really make a bet on this game until you know if Kawhi Leonard is going to play. Kawhi Leonard is going to play. He's the big factor, and he's a bigger factor because Parker is out. And so when you have those two guys off the floor, now granted, they were off the floor when they went to Houston and beat Houston in the deciding game to get to this point. The difference is Houston is not nearly as good as the Warriors. They don't play defense at all. They're a perimeter team primarily, and they don't go to the basket as often as the Warriors do as well. Although the Warriors can, as we know, can hit those outside shots as well. The Warriors are right now the highest rated team in basketball, with the Cleveland Cavaliers being second, and everybody expects that's what's going to happen, is they will meet. That is yet to be seen, but if Leonard is out, this is very likely a sweep. The Warriors will sweep them. They don't have enough, the Spurs do not have enough weapons to overcome the Warriors without Leonard. And then the question is, with Leonard, he has sprained his ankle 3 times in just the last couple of weeks. And it can come down to Popovich basically saying, this is chronic, we can't play him because it might be a career-ending injury if it becomes a chronic problem. So they might be better off saying, okay, we can't beat this team with or without him, unless he's 100%, and he's probably not going to be 100%. This is him hypothetically speaking. So I don't know that that's going to happen, but it is a possibility. So I would not get involved with this game at all until I know his status and I know how well he is feeling, because it's not just about him going on the floor. It's about whether he's, at or near 100%. I don't know. 5 days rest, I don't know if that's enough to clear up a chronic problem. He's sprained this same ankle 3 times in a couple of weeks. That's a problem for me, and it's damaging to the sport. It's damaging to the team, and it's too bad because he's a great player. And, in the running for MVP, I'd say he should be one of the guys you should be talking about in that mode. Definitely not a guy like Harden, who doesn't play well when the lights are up and bright. So anyway, that's my opinion on that. I do have some stuff I do want to tell you about. I have another early baseball winner going tonight. It's $25 at jimfeist.com. I've been heating up a lot on the diamond, and last year I had a great year. The public records on that are remarkable. A $100 better made over $4,200, and you can multiply that as every way you want to. If you're a $500 better, of course, it gets over $20,000. But you can get on board while I heat up in betting the baseball and build your bankroll because we got a long season of baseball, and we got football coming up down in August, and the colleges, the pros, and you want to have a big bankroll for that because I had a big season there as well last year. So I'm excited. Go to jimfeist.com. $25. Another early baseball winner goes tonight.
That's right. We got baseball winners and even early college football team previews are available at jimfeist.com. Keep in mind that the Spurs, really their biggest thing for Saturday is to figure out a way to play defense. You mentioned it. And this Golden State team has scored 136 and 113 in these two games. And the key is Stephen Curry, when he's healthy, they're 5-1 when they play the Spurs. And the only way that they can do that is to attack him. And their best defensive player, Leonard, you mentioned he's not 100%, so that's really the big thing for Saturday. Golden State 9-0 against the spread on the road. They're also on a 43-23 run under the total, and 18-6-1. They've also won 25-1 straight up going back to the regular season. All right, and Jim, if folks want to get free plays daily from you, that's very easy to do.
Well, you can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Jim Feist Sports. And you can get free plays daily by texting GAME, G-A-M-E, to 25827.
All right, that'll do it for the Thursday edition of Proline. We'll see you back on Friday with another edition. Good luck with the games, everyone.